Is crypto the investment opportunity of the decade? A big claim?
So yan, no? Dito tayo ngayon. Dito po si Jack Coins at i-analyze natin, no? Yung isa sa pinaka masabi kong pinaka okay na content pagdating kung dapat ba mag-invest tayo sa cryptocurrency, no? Ito yung video, isa sa mga video na nakita kong saktong-sakto, especially sa ating mga Pinoy, kung bakit ba tayo mga Pinoy dapat mag-invest sa cryptocurrency. So tara, panoorin natin.
However, the more time I spend studying this new asset class, the more that I'm convinced that this will be going so much higher. And I've got some great things to share with you guys, starting with the big problem and why if you're in your 20s, 30s or 40s, then you got a bit screwed as an investor. We'll look at the main wealth building vehicles. We have stocks, bonds and property, and why compounding just might be working.
So ito, no? Ito yung sasabihin niya dito, no? Sabi sa analysis niya kung saan at kung bakit medyo problematic na sa atin yung mga traditional na asset, no, compare mo sa cryptocurrency. So maganda yung analysis niya dito. So tuloy natin.
Against you. And then we'll finish with the big opportunity, why I think crypto just might be the trade of the decade. As always, if you do find anything useful in the video, then drop a like. Always appreciated. Okay, so if you're in your 20s, 30s or 40s, then you have a problem. So there are two main phases of investing: the accumulation stage, climbing up the mountain and building up your wealth, and then the wealth preservation stage, protecting your money once you've reached critical mass. And the big thing to note here has to do with demographics and how the baby boomers had a big advantage over the younger generation. Take a look. So here are the main demographic groups. Starting with the youngest, we have Gen Z. Now, these have not yet gone into peak spending, so they're still relatively young. But it's the people in the 20s, 30s and 40s. These are the millennials and Gen X. This will be the vast majority of people watching this video, and we are in the accumulation stage of our wealth building. Then we have the older generation, the baby boomers, and these guys actually control most of the wealth and most of the assets. And this big generation group are now beginning to go into retirement. And they are in a different stage. They are now in the wealth preservation stage. Before the last generation, which is the silent generation, and they will be going into the distribution stage where they're actually passing down the assets. So
dyan, no, makikita natin dito sa chart na to, no, yung kung nasan tayo, yung millennials and Gen X daw, yung mga 20, 30, 40s, no, we're in the millennials and Gen X. No, doon tayo sa stage na 'yon, no, kung saan mag-accumulate tayo ng wealth, no. Dito tayo nag-iisip kung saan tayo okay mag-invest, no. At yung mga baby boomers, ito yung mga nauna sa atin, no. Ito yung mga lolo't lola natin or yung mga nauna sa atin na pagdating sa presyo ng stocks, ng property, or even ng bonds, no, nauna sila sa atin sa pag-accumulate ton, no. Hindi katulad natin na millennials and Gen X na tayo at this stage nagsisimula pa lang tayo mag-accumulate, or yan, nagsisimula tayo mag-isip kung saan tayo dapat mag-invest at kung paano tayo mag-i-invest. So tuloy natin.
Before the last generation, which is the silent generation, and they will be going into the distribution stage where they're actually passing down the assets. So we're all here today because we want to build up our wealth, and we are in the accumulation stage, right? Awesome. So what are our options? Well, traditionally we have stocks, bonds and property. Okay, let's start with bonds. But bonds are not really a wealth building vehicle. Right now, the 10-year treasury gives about 1.5%. And something about 1.5% isn't that exciting, right? In fact, it means for you to double your money, it would take about 50 years. 50
So yun, sa bonds daw, no, pag nag-invest tayo sa bonds, kailangan natin, no, abutin tayo ng 50 years kasi nga 1.5% yung makukuha natin, no? Kung invest tayo ng example 1 million or 100,000 or 1,000, 1.5% lang yung makukuha natin na kita doon sa investment natin. No? So, kung susumahin mo, para maging milyonaryo daw, okay yung investment mo, buti ka ng 50 years. Kung nasa 20, 30, 40 tayo, ugod-ugod na tayo, no? Bago natin makuha yung gusto natin o yung target natin na kitain ng pera na i-invest natin. So, itong bonds, automatic X na to sa atin. So, tuloy lang natin.
Years. Now, bonds are great once you've made your money because keeping $1 million in cash earning nothing doesn't make sense. So putting it in bonds earning 1.5% does make sense. But for accumulation, bonds are out. Okay, next we have the stock market. But hold up, just before we jump in, let's just take a quick look at the stock market. And this is the Wiltshire 5000, which pretty much makes up the entire US stock market. And it goes back from 1950 all the way to where we are today. Now, one of the best bits of investing advice is buy low, sell high. But just look how high the stock market is right now. And remember, in the year 2000, this was the dot-com bubble where stocks had a huge run-up to overpriced levels. And this is where we're at today. So this says to...
So yan, so dito, pagdating naman sa stocks, no, nakita na yung chart na to, no, since nag-start yung stocks noong 1950s up to 2019, nakita natin na talagang overvalued na yung stocks. No? So kung papasok tayo sa stocks, masabi natin na may maganda pa ring projection pagdating sa pwedeng kitain ng pera natin, pero hindi na ganun kalaki dahil nga overvalue na siya, no? And ang dami ng nakapasok na investor. So yung potential nung stocks, masasabi nating hindi na ganun kalaki yung potential niya. At mamaya may mga chart pa siyang papakita dyan para ipakita na bakit hindi na ganun ka-okay pumasok dyan din sa stocks. So tuloy lang po natin.
The stock market is incredibly overvalued. Are we able to buy low, sell high? Is it more likely over the next 5 to 10 years that this is going to give similar returns, or that we may see a big drop? This is the Nasdaq, which is pretty much tech stocks, and again, it's the very same picture. And this is the S&P 500. Again,
so ito yung isa sa mga sikat ng mga stock investment platforms, no? Yung Nasdaq kanina, yung S&P 500. So ang sasabi nila kasi pag mag-invest ka, buy low, sell high, no? Yan yung principle lagi. But kung nakikita natin dun sa chart, no, medyo hindi mo na magagamit yung buy low, sell high dahil talagang relatively, no, talagang mukhang talagang mataas na siya, no? So kung papasok tayo sa stocks, sabi natin na dahil nga overvalued na siya, pag bibili ka, talagang lagi ka nabili sa high. Kung susumahin mo siya, kung bumili ka ng mga 1950s, etc. No, 1950s, 1960s siguro. Yan, no? Kung nakabili ka ng mga panahon na yun, kaso karamihan sa atin nun, hindi pa buhay. Diba? Kung nasa Gen X at Millennials tayo, for sure, hindi pa tayo buhay nung panahon na yan. So, yung mga tatay at lola natin, which is sa Pilipinas kasi that time, ang stock market, and we know naman for a fact na Pilipinas laging behind pagdating sa technology, and especially ganun din sa investment, no? Lagi tayong nahuhuli, no? Lagi tayong behind, especially in the US, Europe, etc. Kung ano pa malalaking bansa, laging behind ng Philippines sa pag-adapt ng technology. So, yan, sa stocks, pagpapasok tayo, sabi nga niya dito, ni InvestingMadeEasy, talagang hindi na ganon kaganda o kaakit-akit or appealing yung pag-i-invest sa stock market. So, tuloy na lang natin.
A very similar picture. Now, we could go down the route of picking individual stocks, but the data shows that over the long term, statistically, we will make more money using an index fund. And historically, this has given about a 10% return a year. But looking at where the stock market is right now, it looks like we'd be lucky to get 10% per year. Unfortunately, it's likely to be going lower as we revert to the mean. Either way, when I look at the stock market today, it doesn't exactly scream opportunity. One caveat is the emerging markets. The emerging markets over the next 10 years could be the US of the last 10 years. Now, there is always the option of commodities, trading commodities like copper, silver, palladium, but that doesn't sound that appealing. Okay, so property. Real estate is the big opportunity, right? Awesome. Well, let's take a look. So here we have the average house prices for the United States. And this is why the baby boom generation had it so easy. So they were buying the average house price around this time, and they were only paying about $30,000. Now, if you own property, then compounding worked in your favor, and you were able to generate a vast amount of wealth. However,
So yun, no? So, pagdating naman sa property, makikita naman natin, no? Itong sa chart na ginamit niya, US chart to. Most probably ganun din naman to. Halos parehas lang din pagdating dito sa atin. No? So yung mga baby boomers, yung pinakita niyo yung chart kanina, versus sa Gen X and Millennials. So sila yung mga panahon na yun, no? Swerte sila na buhay na maaga at mura ang presyo ng lupa. Ganun lang kasimple yun. No? Nakabili sila ng medyo mura ang presyo ng lupa. Kaya yun, no, nag-accumulate at yung in terms of investment nila dun sa property, malaki na siya, no? At later on, no, ngayon pag pa-practicein uli natin yung buy low sell high, kung pagdating sa property, napakamahal na. And hindi lang yun, no? Hindi na natin afford, no? Especially dahil tayo nga nag-i-invest tayo, looking for investment kasi na average Pilipino, tumitingin tayo na investment yung extra money lang natin. At dapat yun yung thinking, di ba? Dapat extra money yung tinitingnan nating i-invest natin. Yung extra money naman natin, ang average Pilipino, no, hindi ganun kalaki na para makabili ka ng property, no? May mga mayamang Pilipino, etc. But an average Filipino, majority sa atin is again, mas lang yung mga savings, which is 20%, usually 10%, 20% nung income natin, nung either sa sweldo man yan or sa negosyo. So kung sa property, no, hindi ganoon. Kaya makikita nyo ngayon kasi ang kadalasan, no, nakasentro sa Metro Manila or sa mga cities yung negosyo at yung komersyo, no. At kadalasan doon mas mahal ang presyo ng property. So at kadalasan din makikita natin yung average Pilipino tulad ko, tulad nyo, no, na nagre-renta na lang, no. Dahil kung tutuusin, kaya natin bumili ng bahay or mag-loan ng bahay sa probinsya or sa mas malalayong lugar from Manila, pero hindi siya advisable dahil nga ang hanap buhay natin nakasentro sa Metro Manila or sa mga cities, no. So tuloy lang natin.
The younger generation who are just getting started with investing right now, you're having to pay up to $360,000 for one property. And so this is how compounding may actually be working against you. And it's the same picture for people in the UK. So the baby boom generation were only paying about...
Yeah, ito naman sa UK, no? Makikita natin sa UK, no, noong 1959, no, ang presyo ng property nag-average around 2,410 pounds, no. But kung ngayon, no, in 2019 or mas malaki pa to dahil 2021 na, is nasa $230,000 na ang presyo ng property. Yung property na binili mo nung 1959 na from 2,410 naging 230,000, more or less na siya ng presyo na ngayon. So kung meron kang ganyang value ng pera, no, bilhin mo, isipin mo, no, from 2,410 naging 230,000 more or less. Kung may pera ka ng ganyan at average Pilipino, kung dadalhin natin thinking dito, kung may 1 million peso ka, bibili ka ba ng lupa, no, ng property na 1 million peso, tapos dun na yun maghintay ka na lang mag-appreciate, or baka naman overvalued na siya at kung mayroon ka na lang yield nun or kung mayroon kang tinitingnan na nalalaki pa siya or something, hindi na ganun kalaki. So might as well, di ba? invest mo na lang siya sa iba pang asset na tingin mo na mas okay, no? So tuloy lang natin.
£10,000 for their house, grandparents were only paying about £2,000. And the younger generation of today are paying up to £250,000, which is why for a lot of young people, they're not able to get started on the property ladder. So it looks like the baby boomers had it sweet. They were born at just the right time where compounding was working on their side. But for the younger generation just getting started, compounding is actually working against you. And for many, house prices are becoming out of reach. So it looks like from an investing point of view, Gen X...
So yun nga, no? Katulad nung sinabi niya, no? Sa atin, mga Gen X and Millennials, karamihan sa atin, either nag-loan ng condominium, no? Or yan, ang utang sa pag-ibig, etc. para magkaroon ng bahay. But still, no? Kadalasan sa atin, hindi natin tinitira dahil ang trabaho natin andito sa Metro Manila or kung nasa Visayas tayo, nasa Cebu ang trabaho natin or pag nasa Mindanao, nasa Davao. So, sa Luzon dito, alam mo naman natin ang negosyo, yung komersyo talaga nakafocus dito sa Metro Manila. So, karamihan sa atin, no? May mga property na niloan pero hindi natin nagagamit din or kadalasan pinapaupahan natin or yung mga magulang natin yung nakatira because nga hindi natin kayang bumili ng asset ng average Pilipino, no? Hindi natin kayang bumili ng property sa city, no? Imagine mo ng mga 1,200 square meter sa Pasig, no? Sa Makati, etc. or sabihin mo na lang kahit na lang sa Las Piñas, no? Napakamahal na ng property para bumili ka doon ng cash or kung maglo-loan ka man, napakalaki ng interest, no? Ito yung ginawa lang natin tong analysis na to. Kung compare natin, no, yung sa US at sa UK chart na pinakita niya rito, ganon yung reality naman pagdating dito sa atin sa Pilipinas. So tuloy lang natin.
And millennials have been handed a bit of a poo sandwich. We've inherited an overpriced stock market, inflated real estate prices, and got given a bit of a pointless asset class, bonds. Well, that was until crypto came along. Crypto is...
So yun na, no? Pinakita natin, ina-analyze na niya yung stocks, yung bonds, and even the property. Kung bakit hindi na siya ganon ka-appealing or hindi na siya ganon kaakit-akit na investment, no, para sa Gen X at Millennials dahil nga sa yung sa principle ng buy low sell high, no. Hindi na natin kumbaga kung parang titingnan natin yung buy low, hindi na natin siya bibili ng buy low dahil nga tumaas na yung value niya at pag sell high naman, no, kung may pera tayo, no, may mga average may mga ibang Pilipino sa atin kaya bumili ng property. Yes, pwede kang bumili ng property, walang pumipigil sa'yo. But the same time, no, yung sa average Pilipino, same thing sinabi ko, average Pilipino, hindi natin kayang bumili ng property upfront, no? At kukuha man tayo ng property, kahit dito sa Metro Manila, maglo-loan tayo napakalaki ng interest. At halos yun lang doon lang mapupunta yung income natin. So ngayon, ito na, no? Ito na yung asset daw. No, ito na yung cryptocurrency at kung bakit itong cryptocurrency na to ay bakit ito yung pinakabagay at pinakaangkop sa Gen X at Millennials na tulad natin. So, tuloy natin.
Game changer. Crypto is disrupting major industries. And the best part is it actually gives the younger generation a chance to accumulate wealth. And why do I think this just might be the opportunity of the decade? Well, this can all be summed up in one chart. Just before we take a look at the most important chart, this is a chart of the total crypto market. And it may look to the untrained eye that this is also in a bubble. This was the 2018 peak here. This was the huge run-up that we've had in 2021. And many people may think that crypto is in a bubble.
Yan. So, ito na yung chart ng crypto market na pinakita niya, no? Sabi nga niya dito, no? Kung titingnan natin, parang overvalued na rin siya, no? But actually, hindi, no? Makikita natin yung 2018, no? Tumaas siya, no? Then tuloy-tuloy, medyo plateau lang, constant lang siya, no? Hanggang sa tumaas uli siya nitong nung parang uh, second quarter ng 2021, pero ngayon bumaba na naman siya. But ito yung susunod na chart na ipapakita niya. Ito yung dapat tayo mag-focus. Kung ako sa inyo, screenshot nyo to para makita nyo pag kami nagtanong sa inyo kung bakit okay ang cryptocurrency. Dahil ito yung chart na talagang nagsabi sa akin na wow, tama lang yung thinking ko na mag-invest, no, sa cryptocurrency. So tuloy natin.
Let me give you the proper context. And here it is, guys, the one most important chart of this entire video, why I think crypto is the opportunity of the decade. Here we have the size of the global markets. So we have the global bond market, stock market, gold and crypto, and we're working in the trillions of dollars. Here we have bonds, here we have stocks, here we have gold, and here we have crypto. So, global bond market is about 130 trillion. Global stocks is about 95 trillion. Gold is about 10 trillion. And crypto right now is about 1.7 trillion.
So yun, no? Pinakita dyan, no? Makikita natin yung chart na to, no? Yung bonds, no? Kita natin 130 trillion. Ito kasing bonds, ano to kung may million ka or may billion ka at gusto mong medyo safety na lang yung pera mo at kumikita na lang ng maliit na interest at okay ka na doon, at yung risk mo hindi ganun kataas, ayan na yun, yung bonds. Okay ka na dyan sa bonds. Ngayon may stocks, no? Itong stocks taas baba din siya, pero yung future niya or yung growth niya na tinitingnan hindi na ganun kataas. But still makita mo 130,000 yung bonds and 95,000 yung stocks, and yung gold naman kung saan umiikot. Ito yung store value ngayon ng pera natin, no? So dito nag-evolve yung pagpiprint ng pera, etc., which is in the next video na gagawin ko, papakita ko sa inyo kung paano nag-evolve pa rin dyan, no? And then yung crypto na 2 trillion lang, no? So imagine niyo, no, kung yung 130,000 yan, no, palagay mo na okay na sila dyan, no? But itong stocks na lang titingnan natin, itong stocks na 95 trillion na lang, wag na natin tingnan yung gold, no? O palagay na natin wag na nating isama yan. But for sure meron pa rin gustong maglipat from gold into crypto dahil nga sa adoption na nangyayari ngayon, no? And even sa bonds na magta-transfer din into crypto, malaking possibility at malaking percentage na malamang ang mag-transfer from bonds into crypto. Dahil nga kaysa matulog yung pera mo doon, invest mo na sa crypto na alam mong malaki yung projection ng profit, no? But dito sa stocks, no, kita natin kasi stocks, sabi, overvalued na siya, no? Ito actually, tingnan na lang natin na for example niya, no, 50% ng stocks na lang, or let's say 40 million na lang nung trading sa stocks niya, yung value na yan ang pumunta sa crypto. So imagine nyo kung magkano yung crypto price ngayon, halos 800%, no? Doon pa lang sa tinitingnan mong mag-transfer from stocks to crypto, no? Or kahit yung mga new investors and new retailers, no, na papasok sa crypto market, doon pa lang makikita mo na ang projection mo na next 5 years, mga nasa 800 to 1,000%, diba, ng investment mo. So dito makikita na talagang ang laki pa ng opportunity, no? Kaya nga niya tinawag na opportunity of the decade yung cryptocurrency, because napakalaki ng opportunity pa. And ngayong stage na to nakikita natin, ngayon pa lang talaga nag-a-adapt, even yung mga malalaking investor, ngayon pa lang sila pumapasok, like the likes ni Elon Musk, di ba, ng Tesla, na I think this year or last year siya bumili ng Bitcoin, no? So ganun yan, nakakita na ganun kalaki ang potential ng cryptocurrency. So tuloy lang natin.
Question to you is, where do you think the opportunity for the next 5 to 10 years is going to be? Which market do you think has the best chance of doubling or growing 5 times, 10 times? And this is why, even though the crypto market on a chart looks really overvalued, this is why I think it's still got a long way to go. Now, when I look at that chart, now I see opportunity. Now I see huge growth potential. And now I see a true vehicle for younger people to accumulate wealth. However, this is going to be a double-edged sword. As the market is still very small, it does mean this is going to be incredibly volatile. Okay, Charles Hoskinson is the founder of Cardano, which is one of the biggest cryptos out there and one of the most eagerly anticipated smart contract platforms. And he
So yan, no? Ito, papakita niyo dyan, next video, papakita niyo dyan yung tuloy ginawa ko, ng screen recording naman nung kay Charles Hoskinson. Si Charles Hoskinson, siya yung isa sa founder ng Ethereum before, no? Isa siyang co-founder ng Ethereum na ngayon, siya naman ang founder nitong Cardano, no? But even kahit na siya yung dating founder o kasama sa Ethereum, actually siya, no, makikita niya, pwede yung i-search sa YouTube na kahit siya, or even sa Google, kahit siya ay naniniwala ng Ethereum, no, at yung iba pang cryptocurrency is actually malaki ang potential, no, na hindi na masabi nating may take over yung price ng Bitcoin ngayon, which is nasa 1.7 to 1.8 million ang halaga ng Bitcoin ngayon. Nakikita niya na maaring na yung mga altcoins, no? Yan, next video ko i-discuss natin yung altcoins, no? Difference ng altcoin at dito sa Bitcoin nga. But itong video na to, papakita natin, itong clip ng video niya, papakita dito kung ano yung magiging, kung bakit ganun ka-bullish o ganun ka-akit sila sa presyo at magiging projection ng cryptocurrency pagdating ng 5 years to 10 years from now. Panoorin natin.
verbalizes what's going to be happening in the crypto space over the next 10 years better than anyone. Check it out.
Over the next 10 years, there's going to be more advancement in monetary policy from our industry than the last 100 years of central banks. In the next 10 years, there's going to be more advancement on financial engineering, the construction of financial products, and the marketplaces upon which trade them than the last 100 years from Wall Street and England and Tokyo and all the other places in the world combined. In the next 10 years, there's going to be more movement of wealth 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on crypto rails than there will be through the BIS and through the fixed protocols and all these other things that are the mainstay staples of the financial world. In the next 10 years, there's going to be more automation and innovation and open law and automated law and regulation in our industry than the last 100 years of transnational agreements that have occurred. In the next 10 years, the next 2 billion people who enter the world financial system, the vast majority of those people will be brought into our system from the cryptocurrency space. That's where we're at. That's what our industry is about. This is why there are so many incredible people who are in this industry working incredibly hard every single day.
Sounds pretty good, right? However,
So yun, no? Doon na pinakita, no? Yung sinabi ni Charles Hoskinson, yung nangyayari, yung sinasabi na nangyayari in the next 10 years. At probably, tanong niyo sa akin is, malamang speculation lang yan, speculation lang yan nila dahil syempre sila founder ng cryptocurrency like Cardano, no? Syempre alam naman natin, syempre pag okay ang mas maraming mag-invest is mas malaki ang kikitain nila, mas malaki ang yield nila. Pero ngayon kasi makita nyo, no? You could search sa YouTube and Google na lang, makikita nyo ngayon yung mga malalaking investment companies, no? Ngayon unti-unti na lang ina-adapt yung cryptocurrency at yung mga, at mache-check nyo ngayon kahit sa YouTube and Google, tulad ng sinabi ko, makikita nyo yung mga hindi naniniwala sa cryptocurrency noon, ngayon naniniwala na sa cryptocurrency at nag-i-invest na rin sila at bumibili ng mga coins, no? Bumibili ng Bitcoin, Ethereum, at Cardano, etc. No? Bumibili na sila ngayon yan na dati ay hindi sila naniniwala dahil nakikita nila ngayon na ang daming nag-i-invest, no? Ang daming pumapasok dahil ang kailangan mo lang dito sa cryptocurrency is phone and data or internet connection, makakapag-invest ka na. Hindi mo kailangan ng broker, no? Hindi ganun ka-complex o hindi ganun kahirap mag-invest sa cryptocurrency. No, kailangan mo lang, tulad sabi ko, kailangan mo lang cellphone, internet connection, no, smartphone. That's it, no? Pwede ka na magsimula ng 500, 200 pesos, 1,000 or 10,000 pesos. Depende, no? Sa'yo kung gaano, kung ano yung kaya mo, no? Hindi katulad diyan ng bonds. So, pag pumunta ka ng bangko kung saan gusto mong invest, parang mahiya kang pumunta sa bangko, magtanong kung anong pwede mong pasukan ng pera mo na savings mo, no? Either 20, 10% man yan ng savings ng sweldo mo. Dahil nga, hindi ganun kalaki, di ba? Unlike kasi dito sa cryptocurrency, ano, ikaw lang sa sarili mo at your own, di ba? Makakapag-invest ka na. Hindi mo kailangan ng third party, hindi mo kailangan ng broker, hindi mo kailangan ng bangko. Well, kailangan mo ng bangko to transfer, no, ng pera. But even dito sa cryptocurrency, kahit wala kang bank account, actually pwede kang pumunta ng mga pawn shop, no? May mga even sa GCash, no? May mga ways and means, no? May mga process dito na pwede kang mag-transact lang, no? Kahit sa 7-Eleven, no? Pwede kang magbayad at bumili ng cryptocurrency, no? Na makikita nyo rin dito sa YouTube, sa mga ibang YouTube channels kung paano gawin yon. So, ito yung nakikita natin na dahilan kung bakit unti-unti nagbo-boom, especially hindi lang sa malalaking bansa, kundi sa mga third world country like Philippines, kung bakit siya lumalaki ang mga investor ng cryptocurrency. Dahil ganun siya ka-user friendly, ganun siya kabilis, ganun siya ka-safe, no? Dahil yung username, password mo naman, dapat i-save mo lang siya at o agad maaari isulat mo or whatsoever. Pero ganun kadali mag-invest at hindi ganun kahirap, no, intindihin siya, in a sense na ang daming available na platforms para ma-inform ka at papag-aralan mo yung cryptocurrency, no? At sinasabi nga dito, volatile siya, no? Highly volatile. O, ibig sabihin talagang ang laki ng potential niyang bumaba, ang laki ng potential niyang tumaas. Pero ang sinasabi nga dito, dapat kung ano lang yung nakikita mo na willing kang matalo ka, mawala ka. Pero ito sa cryptocurrency kasi, pag bumili ka, no, katulad sa stocks din, no? Pag bumili ka ng coin, yung coin na binili mo, no, bumaba man o tumaas ang value, no? Kung bumaba man sobrang baba, nandun pa rin yan. But yung projection niya ay napakataas in the next 2 to 3 years to 5 years. Talagang maganda yung potential. Depende na lang kung anong coin yung binili mo, no? So as much as possible, pag-aralan mo kung ano yung coin na bibili mo. And again, nandito yan lahat sa YouTube yan, nasa Google, para pag-aralan mo yung coin na okay bilhin. To be honest, nag-start ako sa Ethereum, Cardano, and Solana, no? And meron akong konting VeChain, no? Yung Dogecoin, hindi ko masyado siyang nakita na okay kasi nga, no, ito started na meme coin nga, no? So wala siyang real world value, o kaya wala siyang makita mo talagang yung projection niya hindi backed up ng kumbaga wala siyang basis na para tumaas siya ng ganon. Hindi katulad ng Ethereum, na talagang meron siyang tinitingnan, no? Meron siya talagang real world usage, no? Kung may gamit talaga siyang tinitingnan, no? In the next videos ko, no, na mag-analyze, maghahanap ako ng magandang explanation about the Ethereum coin para mas maintindihan natin. Dahil dito ko medyo, in terms ng portfolio ko sa cryptocurrency, nandyan ako nakataya ng malaki sa Ethereum, and so far so good, no? Maganda yung nakikita kong kinikita nung investment ko sa Ethereum, kahit hindi pa siya ganun kalaki, no? But still nakikita mo na talagang maganda yung future ng Ethereum. So again guys, no, next videos ko, no, please note lang, no, pasensya na kayo dahil kaka-start ko lang mag-YouTube, no? So as much as possible, I promise next videos kong pagagandahin ko pa yung pag-edit, etc. ng aking video. So until the next time, no, this Jack Coins. So good vibes lang. Bye-bye for now.